So I am absolutely obsessed with the brand Uncommon James, which was actually created by no other than Miss Kristen Cavallari. It's the perfect one-stop shop for everything beauty, lifestyle, home, and jewelry. I have a few pieces from the jewelry line, and I'm always getting so many compliments. It's beautifully crafted and perfect for everyday wear. If you are interested in checking it out for yourself, you can head to www.uncommonjames.com and use code Veronica20 for 20% off your purchase. That's code Veronica20, Veronica 20 for 20% off your purchase. You can actually head to the show notes and tap on the link to have the promo code embedded to your shopping experience. But again, that's code Veronica20 at checkout for 20% off your Uncommon James purchase. Hello, and welcome back to Martinis and Bikinis. I am your hostess, Veronica Droulia, and I am so freaking excited to share with you guys who today's guest is. I'm actually freaking out because she has been a dream guest of mine for the show since the early beginnings. I actually don't even think I told her that, so surprise, Alyssa. Yes, today we have on Alyssa Lynch, who is such an amazing content creator within the lifestyle and health and wellness space, and truly such a beauty from the inside out. I mean, she is such a warm presence, and it was just radiating during this conversation. I just felt like so safe. And I know that's the environment that I try to make for my guests, so having my guests do that for me was just so amazing and remarkable. Alyssa lives in LA and actually started out as an actress and has now transitioned to being a full-time content creator. She is just a well of knowledge in all things mental health, wellness practices, choosing joy, cultivating a support system, and she actually had a very difficult journey the past few years of losing her period, which we will get into in today's episode more in depth, and what the experience has taught her and how she's learning to become more in tune with her body and find solutions for not only herself, but other women who are experiencing the same struggles. I am so grateful for this conversation and to be able to have her on the show today. So, my little teenies, without further ado, please welcome Alyssa Lynch to Martinis and Bikinis. Hello, and welcome to Martinis and Bikinis, the podcast for everything under the sun. I am your hostess, Veronica Droulia, and I am here to help you navigate your 20s through all things lifestyle, beauty, and fashion. So, if you're ready, let's dive into today's episode. I'm so excited for our celery juice.
Me too. This is so cute.
I'm so glad you're a celery juice girl.
Of course.
And you know who got me into it is our mutual friend, Rachel.
Did she?
She did. We did this little challenge during COVID where we would have to like chug celery juice in the morning. We'd take videos of each other or like of ourselves and send it to each other. And it like got me started on the celery juice train.
I love how most people are like getting wasted and taking shots and like you guys are chugging celery juice.
And we're drinking celery juice out of a martini glass today.
I love it. That is my kind of martini.
Alyssa, welcome to Martinis and Bikinis.
Cheers. I love it.
There's nothing better than Erewhon celery juice.
I know.
It's just
We're
like so
spoiled. We're so spoiled.
It's so good.
So do you do all different types of martinis on the show?
We do. We'll do Lovely. Anything from a cold pressed green juice to an extra dirty martini.
Love that.
So it's just my guest drink of choice, and we just have a little happy hour chat. So that's what we're going to do today.
Can't wait.
So I usually like to start these with something I like to call the roots. Okay. So just more about you, maybe where you're from, how you got to where you are today, maybe things people don't know about you.
Yeah.
Feel free to share with the audience.
So I'm from a suburb outside of Vancouver, Canada called Langley. And it's fine. It actually has grown into like it's grown into a city now. When I go back, there's so much more there than there was when I was growing up. Growing up, just a lot of like farms, and I wouldn't say it was like country or anything like that, but yeah, just your like typical Canadian suburb. And my mom had me in high school, so that was fun.
Yeah,
interesting.
Wow.
So my mom and dad, very young, very young. And I lived with my mom and my grandparents and my aunt until I was like, honestly, 10. So almost kind of sometimes my mom feels like a sister, which was honestly really fun. It was a great upbringing, and I was very much an arts kid. So I went to like an art school that was grades 1 to 12. It sounds so much bougier and luxurious than it was. It was like not a private school, so it was public, but it was cool. We did all the different types of arts, and I obviously majored in music and theater and dance, and that was kind of my thing growing up, was a lot of dance, a lot of acting, not as much theater, more TV and film. And yeah, that was my thing.
That's really cool because I feel like it's cool that you've now used that creativity into your job now. But it's so funny because I actually lived with my grandmother and my mom until I would say 8th grade. And then it was me and my mom and my stepdad. But I feel like it's such an enriching experience to grow up with your grandparents and to like really have that closeness that, you know, we all have with grandparents. But I think like having that like personal time with them is so essential and
so special.
So special.
Yeah, I know. And I'm so grateful. Like now that I'm this age and so many of my friends are either losing grandparents or like watching their parents get old, like that's a scary thing to see, right? And I just have some extra time with that, which is great because I
think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So when did you come to LA?
So like I said, I started acting while I was in high school, and I missed a lot of school because of that. And then when I graduated, I booked like 3 different shows, and they actually all filmed in Vancouver. But I would come to LA a lot for auditions or like screen tests, which are you're like almost about to book the role, but they want you to come and perform, I guess you could say, in front of the network. So I would come to LA a lot, and then my best friend at the time and I would drive out to LA during what was called pilot season. They don't really have that anymore just because of the internet and technology, and now everyone for acting and auditions self-tapes.
Right.
And everything is kind of virtual now. But before, pilot season was between the months of January and March, where they would audition for all of these like new up and coming series, and then you'd film a pilot, and if the network approved it, it would get picked up, and your life pretty much like as an actor is set, you know what I mean? Or at least you think it is. So yeah, after I graduated, I'd come out here for those months. So I was very familiar with LA. And then once I finished those shows, I decided to not do the second seasons of them and moved to LA. And I had already kind of naturally gained like a following. Also, I will say it wasn't just because of the acting. It was the people I was surrounded by in LA. My boyfriend at the time was very much in the social media world, which was very, very, very like unknown to me.
Very new.
Oh yeah, this was 2016. So, I mean, it was like Logan and Jake Paul and Lele Pons. It was Vine.
Yeah, Vine. Yeah,
which
Vine,
I didn't
YouTube.
even know when I moved to LA. And I had this boyfriend. He was like, "Oh, like we all do Vine," and I was like, "What is Vine? What is Vine? Like I've never heard of that."
Like, are we swinging on a vine? What's happening
do
here?
you live in igloos in Canada and not know anything about what's going on in the world? And I was like, pretty much. But yeah, so I learned a lot about that. I honestly, the way that those people that I was around, they did social media in a way that was not the way I would want to do social media. Just the very different personalities, right? Like they were hoverboarding around Hollywood with their vlog cameras out being like, "What's up, guys? Like, here I am." And I was like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. That was so like unnatural for me. And be like, as an actor, I will say I was kind of in this world where I don't know anymore because I'm not an actor anymore, but in that time, actors really put themselves on a pedestal and looked down upon all things social media.
Right.
So there was a lot of like, a little bit of shame kind of dipping my toes into that world. But within that relationship, we would travel around and kind of create content. And I found that there was such a beauty and freeing aspect to that world. You know, you're in control of your own schedule, your own time. You can be creative in so many different ways. It's continuously evolving. You can literally kind of like maneuver through your job how you maneuver through life. Right. And that's when I just decided to stick to it and give it a shot.
I think that's so cool that you were kind of accidentally brought into this early adoption of social media.
Yeah.
And I actually listened to your podcast episode with Aggie Law, which, by the way, I am obsessed with her. Yeah. I read her book, Biohack Like a Woman, and I like keep talking about it on the show. So whenever I saw that you were on her show last night, as I was like just doing my deep dive, I was like, oh my God, like we have so much to talk about. But I listened to the conversation, and you guys just like really had this massive blow up. And it was during a time where, you know, the Vines and the YouTubers, and there was people doing it, but you guys had like a very large following. So I'm sure that was really overwhelming, kind of just like stepping into that role and, you know, kind of coming to LA and just being thrown into it.
Yeah. The followings, like, honestly happened almost overnight back then. You know what I mean? Like one tagged post with someone and you wake up with 100,000 more followers than you did before.
Right.
It was very strange and weird and uncomfortable for me, to be honest. Like I was not trying ever. I want to gain a following. I'll admit now, I'm like, gosh, we're losing some followers. Let's go. Because I understand now that it does affect my business. But back then, I was just like, this is so weird. I don't want to be known for being someone's friend. I want to be known for like what I bring to the table. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of like imposter syndrome and identity issues and just kind of weird feelings that came along with it. But I think the great thing about my journey with all of this is, not that I have anything against any of those people that did Vine. Like I actually learned so much from them. I still speak to like a couple of them to this day. But because we were so different and I wasn't necessarily gaining inspiration from what they were doing because it was just completely opposite kind of presences on social media. When I went through that breakup that's kind of when I really decided to like do social media on my own and quit acting and just give it my all. That's when I really went down like the wellness kind of route because I needed it because I was like dying of heartbreak. So I went down the kind of healing, wellness, spirituality journey. But I think what's great is that I really built a community of just like amazing people around me. And I do think a lot of the time in this world, that's what people lack. And it keeps you just grounded and
sane,
not super overwhelmed. And
yeah, I remember I feel like I've kind of experimented with different types of therapy.
Yeah.
And I remember whenever I was doing my talk therapy, I was in business school and it took me years to like actually like commit to it. And I remember just like kind of talking about all the different things that, you know, we all go through things, all of the things that like I had dealt with in my past. And I was explaining my interest in the wellness scene and just how invigorated I felt whenever I was amongst people that like really were taking charge of that scene as well. And my therapist told me, well, Veronica, it's interesting because a lot of people that do get into like the wellness space usually are healing from immense trauma. And I think it's great that you can find a community and all bond together over something that's like really positive. And I feel like that's exactly what that does.
1000%. Like, I think almost everyone I know, you know, my best friend Sam and I always say, we're like, this life of healing effing sucks. Like, it is not fun.
No.
And it's not for the weak. And sometimes we like get caught with these rough times. We're like, why did I choose this life? But like, all in all, it is so worth it. And you find such peace within it. You, at the end of like these kind of chaotic, effed up times where you feel like so frustrated, and doing like the deep inner work is kind of what I'm talking about. And yeah, like saying no sometimes to like certain trips or nights out or whatever, waking up early to like meditate and do your morning routine. Like, we've glamorized it so much on social media, but like, yeah, sometimes it sucks. But it does.
Most of the time.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to do this. I want to feel numb. I want to go have a glass of wine and not feel the pain that's coming up. But you know what? I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to do it. And it is so worth it. But I think, yeah, like you said, it doesn't start with like, ooh, a night in with like a celery juice and a bone broth, and something sounds way better than that night out with my friends and wine. I'm not saying you don't have to have friends and wine. You have to have that as well.
Yeah, there's balance to it.
Yeah, but like, it comes from almost a lot of the time, maybe not for everybody, but for me, like a level of like desperation and just like wanting to feel better.
Yeah, I also think it just develops so much emotional intelligence because, yeah, you can go out with friends and distract yourself and drink yourself until you're numb. But I think for me, spending time with myself has given me so much confidence because I almost feel like I don't need anyone. And
it's the best feeling
it's so
ever.
nice to feel self-reliant, but also surround myself with people that also feel that way, because there's so many people out there that haven't done the healing work and unfortunately do fall into this character of being like an emotional vampire. And those aren't the people that you want to surround yourself with. And I think it's like really empowering whenever you can like step into who you are and cancel out the distractions and have those nights in with the bone broth or the tea and really sit and reflect. And I think that only teaches you more about how you can show up as the best version of you, not just for yourself either, but for your community and for others. And I absolutely loved your story yesterday. You were talking about how you had kind of had a rough few days and somebody ran up to you and gave you their extra latte because she had been following you and actually found out about the place because of you. And I think that's something that's really amazing about what you're doing, is you're empowering other women to explore different places, like within, you know, the wellness scene, or like, you know, find a new spot here in LA and just like really experiment with life and try new things. And I think that's super rewarding. And I'm sure that's how you feel too.
Yeah, it really is. And I think there's just like that moment yesterday, it also just reminded me that, because I was getting just, you know, I mean, it's honestly probably just like PMS related, but it's just emotional. And sometimes though that hits and you're like, oh,
luteal phase
what's going
is my
on
worst
right
enemy
now? And then you come out of it and you're like, oh my gosh, it was just that thing called hormones.
Can't control it.
Gosh, it was rocking me like the last few days. And I know this isn't obviously doable for everybody to like cancel work or something like that, and I didn't actually cancel all of work. I just decided to take an hour for myself in the day and like go for a stroll, go to my favorite coffee shop. And so I walked in, and like, there's such a difference when you, like, sometimes I'll go and get a coffee and I am wearing my anxiety on my sleeves and my head's down, I have a hat on, and I'm just like going in there, and you're not going to attract much when you're in that kind of state. And so I try to, even if I'm so anxious or whatever, it's like put my phone away, try and focus on like the positives, like the sun is shining, I'm going to my favorite coffee shop, and just have this like level of like presence to me. And this doesn't happen all the time, obviously, but like in these moments. And that's why I think like that girl was able to see me, because I was walking in with so much presence that she like, you know, she caught my eye and she noticed me and recognized me and was like, oh my gosh, I'm here because of you. And they just happened to make me an extra latte. Here you go. And I was just like, like, sounds corny, whatever. But that was just like the universe being like, you're all right for me. Like, that's how I took it. And that's all that matters. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that about LA, the community, just like everything.
Human connection is so big.
Yeah.
And I think it can really shift our energy. So the fact that she was able to just tell you, hey, like, I found out about this place because of you. Like, here you go. Like, it's so nice to surround yourself with nice people. And I absolutely love that. I think I started following you whenever Erwan had the secret Alyssa Lynch matcha. So
it's ancient times. That was way back when.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Do they still have it?
So like it depends what barista you get, but I actually went in and got a smoothie this morning, and he was like, I still make your matcha sometimes.
Oh my gosh, cute.
So I think certain people who remember the recipe will do it.
It's gonna go like chastise all of the
right?
Erwan baristas.
I mean, I know. I tell Erwan, I'm like, we have to do another one when you're done, like, you know, with every other celebrity in the world that's way more relevant than me. Like, let me know.
No, you were the OG. You were really the OG. But speaking of your friend Sammy, I actually went to a wellness retreat with her a couple years ago.
Really?
And yeah, Camp Conscious.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had visa issues and couldn't come.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
Darn.
So you were there with like Sam, Mika, Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually where I met Rachel.
No way.
Yeah.
Was she there too?
She was there.
Wow, I missed out.
Yeah, she was there. She was there. No, it's okay. I feel like you are surrounding yourself with those people. And that was really what was such a big part of that experience, was just surrounding yourself with like high vibrational people. And I mean, it completely shifted I don't want to say my whole personality, but like it totally shifted the way that I thought about everything.
Your consciousness?
Yes. Yes. I grew up in Louisiana, so I was like surrounded by like a lot of wellness, LA, just like good vibes. And I feel like it just completely it was a complete transformation. But I love that you surround yourself with people that just bring you good energy. And I feel like you have such a good group of just friends and support system. And I would love to hear how you got there and how you like kind of conserve your own peace and energy as well. Because I was listening to the show with Aggie, and you talk about how you were a very hypersensitive person.
Yeah.
And why surrounding yourself with people that operate on like the same vibrations is like really essential to like your well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, coming from the acting background, like when I first graduated high school, a lot of my friends were also in the acting space, and I was really inspired by people who had a deep, deep sensitivity and feelings, and also were extremely inspirational when it came to kind of anything art, like anything. Their artistic ways inspired me a lot. And I just noticed that sometimes that would suck everything out of me.
Yeah.
Because there can be a lot of like darkness in that, you know, and not all the time, of course. But when I moved to LA, I noticed I still kind of would want to surround myself with people like that. And then I just had this moment, I think, and I still have these moments, but really realizing how sensitive I am. I don't think I ever could really understand why I felt things so deeply growing up. No one in my family is sensitive at all. And honestly, none of my friends growing up were sensitive at all. So it was something that it wasn't even like I had shame over it or anything. I just obviously didn't feel comfortable kind of showcasing that to people around me, because why would I if they're not going to understand? You know what I mean? So I kind of had this moment. It was when I quit acting, and I was just like, I'm quitting acting because, and who knows, maybe I'll go back one day. I do dearly love like the art, the process, the all of it almost. But I was just having this moment where I was like, I want to just live a beautiful life.
Yeah.
And it's not always about like climbing this ladder, or, you know, I feel like people got really caught up in career.
Definitely.
And in, like how high up the ladder you are at whatever, you know, job you're doing. And I really just wanted to emphasize just feeling good. And so that's when I quit acting. I got into the social media world, and I started to really focus on wellness and put myself out there. And I truly attracted all of my beautiful friends who have I would say all of that in common.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's cool whenever you can have a group of friends where you can really all just open up about how incredibly grateful you are for one another.
Yeah.
Because I think whenever you surround yourself with gratitude, really good things happen, and opportunities and just like good things start happening whenever you like surround yourself with the right people. So in terms of like shifting from acting into like full-time influencing,
Yeah.
how is your mental health like during that whole process? And like, how have you like learned to cope like with just the harsh realities of the world?
Well, first, I think that transitioning from your dream career that you've always said you were going to accomplish and really believed in yourself that you would, and then you did from a very young age, like letting that go is really hard.
Yeah. It's like shedding a past version of yourself.
Yeah. And it also, you get confused whether you're doing it for the right reasons or not. Like, am I giving up on this, or am I shifting? Because also the career that I do now didn't exist as a kid. So I couldn't dream about it. It wasn't there to dream about. And if I think about it, I like wanted to be I think I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be an event planner and an actress. And I'm like, well, kind of, if you put all those together, it's like a little hybrid situation.
You made your own hybrid career.
Yeah. But like that was the hardest part, was coming to terms with, you know, saying goodbye to like my dream and the potential opportunities that could be there, and watching my peers and friends. Like my best friend at the time is one of the most, up and coming successful actresses, I think probably will be of our time. And watching her do it sometimes brings back that like, oh my gosh, like I gave up on that dream, and like she's living it, and I'm literally so happy for her. Like there's not 1 ounce of anything else but happiness. But it does just make you like question sometimes. You're like, oh, did I make the wrong choice? But like for me, I just know that the amount of abundance and goodness, and also just space that this career has allowed me to take for myself, for self-growth, for healing, learning so much from, like in this space, and I'm sure you can relate, like you can learn so much from different experts, from just people who have the most knowledge of all different types of topics, and you can apply it to your life in whatever way you want. And that's been something that's so cool about this. And yeah, I have dove into like I definitely would call myself spiritual, and I think that looks different to everybody. I have also been extremely turned off by certain people's, you know, spiritual energies,
Right.
and, and stuff. So I think like taking whatever you want from it is the way to go. But yeah, I've done lots of energy healing, psychedelics, and I think that it's all based on like my gut intuition telling me like, yes, I want to dive into that, or I want to do this. That's kind of just what I based it off of, and it's worked for me.
So tell me more about psychedelic therapy, because that's something I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah.
And I've been talking to a lot of people recently about it, and it seems like a really great form of healing, and not just spiritually, but like mentally, emotionally as well. So
Yeah, I for sure think so. I mean, there's obviously so many different types, and they're not all for me. I know like ayahuasca and stuff people have had incredible experiences. For me, that scares me. Someone very close to me when I first moved to LA embarked on that journey and never went back to normal.
I hear about that happening a lot. I've had a few friends that have done it, and I always think about, well, one person in particular I think about is Miley Cyrus. She actually supposedly did it and then said that her like voice completely changed, which was interesting. But I think everybody has like different reactions to everything. I probably personally wouldn't do it.
Absolutely. I think some people could be the most perfect candidate for it. I don't know. This person that I know had other like mental health issues, and I just don't think that maybe those went well together.
Yeah.
So I've always been a little like, to be honest, after that situation, I was so traumatized that like I couldn't even look at a crystal for 2 years or like hear the word yoga. I was like, no, like so scared, like scared of all of it. I'm like, a medium, get away from me.
Rose
It's like, get away from me.
The other direction.
Seriously. And then after 2 years, I was like, okay, I can take this in my own way, how I want. And kind of got back into that world. And then it wasn't until I've been like very open about it, but I, for 9 years, didn't have a cycle and wanted to know like how to get that back. I was vegan the whole time, which obviously like, you know, could have had something to do with it since the timing's pretty spot on there. But also I knew it was something so much deeper than that. You know, I started to incorporate animal products into my diet. I started to gain weight because I was way too thin in my early 20s. And so I started to do all the right things. And I was just like, why is this still not coming? Like I still don't have a period. And then I went into a session with Jess Stone.
Love
and
her.
I did a little bit of psilocybin mushrooms, and really wanted to like get to the root cause of maybe why my body's not allowing to have this natural thing happen, all related to emotional trauma that I didn't even know about, like in my, you know, conscious brain. And I woke up the next day with cramps, and 10 days later I had my period for the first time in 9 years.
That's insane.
It was insane. I actually was like so weirded out. Like when I woke up with cramps, I was like, no. This, my body, I genuinely told myself, I was like, my body is playing a joke on me right now. It's a joke. And then 10 days later, I was in Mexico with my family, and we just had a a period party for a 28-year-old. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Like just celebrating womanhood.
Yeah. It was also my cousin's wedding. And I was like, sorry, right now it's not about you.
Didn't mean
It's
to rain
about
on your
me.
parade.
Yeah, my grandpa walked up to me and it was just the most like precious but weird moment. My grandpa's like, never doubted you. I was like, cool.
You got this, kid.
I think it was so awkward, but he's like, I gotta say something.
It's like it'd be so rude if I didn't.
Right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
that's amazing.
yeah.
So it's interesting how like, I actually read up on it a little bit and how losing your period could be like very like mentally and emotionally related.
Yeah.
Like
oh my
as well as
gosh.
hormones, but I feel like a big chunk of it is like due to like the mental and emotional trauma that unfortunately we all experience. But that's crazy that Jess was able to unlock something in you that was maybe more subconscious, and maybe that's what the psilocybin was able to
Absolutely.
do.
I think everybody has kind of different ways that they maybe store emotion. I know so many people experience anxiety in the way of intrusive thoughts, or maybe it's more OCD, or maybe it's just excessive like fear, whatever it may be. And mine has always been like a very big like somatic response. So before my brain knows it, my body knows it. And that's the way I've always been. Stomach aches and like neck pain or something. And then I'll realize that it's an emotion that needs to be released. And so body work for me has been the most transformative and best thing I've ever done.
So tell me more about that.
It's kind of hard to explain because the person that I do this with, his name is Brian. Their company's called Shen Generation. And I like literally can't even tell you what his title is because he is just, I just say he's like a magician. I would say the body work is, first of all, he's almost like a functional medicine doctor in the sense of he will, on my first session, I sat there for 2 hours before we even did anything to do with the body because he needed to know about my childhood. He needed to know about my relationships and obviously the physical things too that I feel on a day-to-day basis. Asked me so many different questions, even like when your mom gave birth to you, was it a C-section or was it a vaginal birth? Like there's so many things that we don't think about that can come from such a young age that we hold on to as adults. Even my mother having me in high school, he was like, oh, like you could have caught on to certain feelings that your mother felt when pregnant with you. And I'm like, really? But he was right because wow, all of the stuff that's come up has been so much, you think you're experiencing anxiety because of like the fight you just got in with your partner yesterday. But like really, truly underneath that could be something from when you were 1 year old. You know what I mean?
It's so crazy. I actually recently during my cycle, I was so incredibly anxious. Probably the most anxious I've been in a really long time.
I'm sorry.
And,
it's okay. The worst feeling though.
It's okay.
Truly.
People do not give women enough credit.
No.
We're working, we're like doing all these things, and like meanwhile we're like having like inner turmoil.
We are.
And it's not anything we can control, but my landlord is a hypnotherapist, and
wow, amazing. Amazing.
She reads a lot of books just about wellness and healing, and she was telling me that apparently whenever we have our cycles, it isn't just our own anxious tendencies. It can be trauma that is ancestral.
Oh yeah.
And
lineage.
like it's like our grandmothers, our grandmothers,
I
grandmothers,
know.
our grandmothers, grandmothers, grandmothers,
Which is
trauma.
so lame. Like during my like psychedelic experience, I thought I'd be healing stuff for me. Okay? For me. I was healing stuff from my grandma and my grandma's grandma. And I'm like, that's boring. You guys couldn't figure that out yourselves.
We're going all the way back to Eve at this point.
Seriously. I thought I was going to have all these great stories. People were like, how was it? I was like, I don't know. Like, great grandma. Something happened to her. So I had to heal that. But no, yeah, it can definitely like store in the body too. And obviously too, the things that are more present in our lives kind of trigger those already living traumas and make it worse. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's to a level, and that's like when the hypersensitivity comes in. It's to a level that's like sometimes just so unbearable that the body work, his name's Brian, and he will like touch a certain point on my body. And especially in the mouth, there is like an emotional trigger release point that is like behind your molars, kind of up there. And he'll put gloves on, and he will try to find it. He goes into my mouth, and he will hit this point and hold it for 10 seconds. When I tell you, I am squealing, and it's not squealing from pain. Is it like an electricity feeling? Yes. It is a full-blown emotional release. Like, I have cried, like, bawled my eyes out from it, and I've also laughed intensely from it. It is like the weirdest emotional release, but when I tell you the pressure on my chest and in my stomach will just evaporate.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I actually saw this TikTok yesterday that my friend sent me. She's a functional medicine nutritionist, and we're like really into Reiki and energy healing. And I have been wanting to kind of dabble in it a little bit more because I haven't done it in a while. And it was this expert from China, and he is doing qi on this guy, and he is having like this visceral reaction. He's like literally like, it almost looks like he's convulsing. And it was just really wild to see that and see the work. I've seen those too. He's so physical. On like the Goop documentary and stuff too. I've seen that. I've never had that. I don't think it's performative, but that some of those I'm like, I'm like questioning it. But like mine will be definitely just like emotional. Like I'll just like kind of be lying there and just like tears are just kind of coming down. But it is like, I have had bodywork sessions where I'm throwing up after. Whoa. I've had bodywork sessions where I just cannot stop crying for days after. Or I'm like insanely hungry after. It's just so interesting how when you kind of allow your body to like release things, you release in so many other ways, you know? Absolutely. Yeah. Do you feel like there's any other wellness practices that you do to kind of just like make yourself feel more at peace or release toxins or just things that make you feel good and just light you up? Yeah. I mean, working out has been such a, like, I hate the word journey, but like there's no other word, you know? It's been a journey for me because I've definitely like, I fell in love with working out, but I fell in love with like these heated sculpt classes, like kind of like a yoga sculpt situation. And obviously those aren't like accessible everywhere you're traveling and everywhere you go. So I still wanted to feel that like adrenaline high from those. And so I got kind of into everything, boxing, weightlifting, like everything. And lately, it's taken me this long, but I have realized that those like infrared sculpt classes are just what I love. Yeah. I don't really love anything else. I was supposed to go to Burn in Brentwood on Friday, and I need to go. I wasn't able to make it, but I like love an infrared, just heated situation because I feel like I just actually sweat. You have to try my favorite place is called Silver Springs. Okay. What is it?
It is an infrared, like burn is very intense and I love it. I also, burn started in Hawaii and there's something so special about that place because when I would visit Hawaii, I would do burn and then you'd like go and jump in the ocean after.
Oh, I love that.
And that's just like so fun and nice. It's very much more like upbeat. It's almost like a berries and a infrared sculpt class put together. Silver Springs is a lot more like calm. I think my nervous system really responds super well to it. It's like really light weights, if that, but sometimes no weights and just a band. And the best music too. And
that's important.
It's like an art gallery in there. It's beautiful. So I love doing that. But that's like, it's so meditative for me. It's so calming to me. Like there's nothing better than starting or ending my day with that. So that for sure. I love a sauna. I just love nature. That's something that I miss so much. So much. I like need to go on more trips for nature.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like there's so much nature here too, which is nice. I mean, I'm saying that coming from New York.
True, yeah.
But yeah, I made it just a mandatory thing that if I was going to live in New York, I had to be near Central Park because otherwise I'd just go crazy.
I'm going next week and I'm staying at Central Park.
Oh my gosh, no way. Well, you're going to love it. It's amazing right now. It was kind of this weird just realization last weekend whenever I went to Central Park to go lay out with one of my friends. And I was like, this is kind of weird. We're just like in the middle of the city and we're like taking off our clothes and like laying in the middle of this park. But I love how people are finding a way to incorporate nature into the city. And I think just, finding it in little ways, whether that's like here on the beach with like no shoes on and just like grounding and feeling like present with everything. Like I love how you said earlier that you just really enjoy embracing the present and really tuning into, I'm on a walk. It's so sunny and getting my favorite coffee. And I feel the same way. I feel so much more invigorated and at peace whenever I'm like really paying attention to the little details, whether that's like the wind rustling on the trees or birds chirping and really appreciating why we're here in the first place. And it's to enjoy it. It's to enjoy the beautiful earth that we've been given.
So much goodness comes from that and like taking the time to like connect to nature and yourself and like just take time for yourself. A lot of the time, like, I don't go to a lot of work events. I don't go to a lot of social I guess I go through waves. Yeah. But a lot of the time I will cancel on a work event or a social event. Probably shouldn't say that out loud, but I do. And it is to take time for myself and go on that walk. And like sometimes even like my boyfriend will just, and he means so well by this, but he'll just check in and be like, should you really be missing that dinner? Like, is that gonna cost you a work opportunity? And I'm like, to be honest, it's going to be more beneficial. If I take this walk and this night to myself, more good will come from that. Yeah. And like, I deeply feel that and know that. Sometimes it's like, you're right, I gotta go to the dinner. You're right. But like, there's so much goodness that can come from doing that, even if nobody else is involved, because it's like the energy that you're going to attract from taking the time for yourself.
I think there's so many people out there that are immense people pleasers. And
me.
I'm recovering.
Me too.
I'm still in it.
Yeah. I'm not recovering. I'm on my way to recovery.
Yes. Yes. At least we're self-aware.
Yeah.
But I think, whenever you can take that time for yourself and create those boundaries, it's so essential, and it only helps you and others, because if you show up and you don't feel 100% yourself, people are going to feel that. And, it's not going to end well. But I would love to know how you create a balance with your personal life and your job, because I feel like with your career, it's a lot of sharing and, having to get comfortable with the uncomfortable and feeling vulnerable. And, I think there's obviously some paradoxes to all of that. And I'd love to hear about how you can kind of create this boundary with just protecting your peace, but also like sharing and, you know, cultivating a community.
Well, I think being a people pleaser, like, I can't really imagine living in the same town as my family. I would struggle so much, I think, on the level of, not because they're not amazing and I love them. Of course, I miss them. But, like, I would feel, like, so bad about all of the things that I wouldn't be able to make. The lunch, the breakfast, the this. Like, I think that living near no family, like, allows me to be selfish without the guilt of being a people pleaser, to be quite honest. But yeah, sharing so much of my life, I think that I just comes back to who I surround myself with.
Right.
I just think that my friends and the community I built, there is no comparison. Like, I mean, I truly do not. There's no competition. There is nothing but support and understanding. My friends, we make plans all the time. We cancel plans all the time. And there is no guilt or shade. There's probably relief, like we were talking about earlier off of this. Like, sometimes there's relief in canceling. And so I just think we've created this really safe community of, like, we all share our lives in a certain way. We know exactly who we are, because you can never share your complete 100% self online. It's impossible. You're only sharing bits. And we all know who we are. We support one another. There's no competition. We can come together. When we are together, we are not using our phones. We are not really filming unless it's for, like, a job or something like that. And so I think that that's what's created such, like, peace, safety, and support with this job.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It really is about who you surround yourself with. And I can just, like, tell, like, whenever you talk about your support system, like, you're just, like, glowing from the inside out. But speaking of the outside of the glow, I have to know your, like, skincare.
Oh.
That's, like, I feel like it's just, like, you were absolutely glowing, and I know that you're, like, really into it, and I feel like you have kind of experimented with so many different things and figured out what works, what doesn't. So I'd love to, like, hear your routines or, like, any products that you love, because
It's so funny because my best friend Whitney, she is, like, a few years older than me, and when we got really close, I was, like, 23, and she was so into skincare, and I truly would carry around face wipes, and that's it. Like, I would not put on moisturizer. I wouldn't do anything. And then the next year, I started to realize, like, okay, I need to take care of my skin, and I started getting into it. And now, like, fast forward a few more years, I'm, like, truthfully obsessed. Would never put those wipes I was using when I was 23 on my face at all. And I also developed, like, dermatitis during COVID, and from wearing a mask. It was awesome.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, I know. I did, like, a heated yoga class and then put a mask on, so you can only imagine the types of bacteria that were just seeping into my skin. It wasn't the smartest move on my end, but
random side note, I actually saw a woman in her car yesterday by herself with a mask on. I was like,
oh yeah,
we're still doing that.
We're still doing that. Oh gosh, I know. I'm like, please breathe in the good air. So that happened, and I got super, like, I went into a deep dive of pore clogging ingredients. I got rid of all of my makeup, all of my skincare, shampoo, conditioner, detergents, everything that would not affect my skin. And I've been on that journey ever since, and I love it. And I found ways to make my skin glow and feel good about it and not be, like, afraid of having, like, my sensitive skin kind of react. So truly, one word, and it's Clear Stem. It's the brand I use. And I obviously play with other products from different brands and sometimes incorporate them if I'm like, okay, my skin's really dry, like, I need a serum to kind of boost that. I'll, like, go into other skincare lines. But all in all, I really just use Clear Stem, and they're the only line I found that is 100% no pore clogging ingredients in anything.
Wow.
And it's very good for acne prone skin. So all of my friends who have dealt with, like, cystic acne have found such like peace by finding this brand. And it also is really good for anti-aging. Usually when you find a product, if it's anti-aging, it can cause breakouts. And if you find a product and it's to prevent acne, it causes wrinkles. So what they did was they incorporated anti-aging and anti-acne products. So it's amazing. It has changed the game for me. I'm obsessed with it.
I love that they blended those two things together, because I think a lot of products that are marketed as clean are not.
You look at, they also have, so you can go onto the ClearStem website and they have this calculator. You can copy and paste any ingredients list of any product, and you just copy it, you paste it, and you say check, and it comes up on the screen and it highlights any ingredient that is pore clogging.
Oh, wow.
Some of, like, I was using this one brand. It is like $400 for a moisturizer. Everyone is like, I wish I could have that. Apparently, like, Hailey Bieber uses it. It's amazing. They have this, they have that. The number one ingredient is shea butter, which is the number one pore clogging ingredient. And you should never put shea butter on your face.
Whoa.
It's like insane. Like, people just don't know this. And obviously, if you don't have a disrupted like skin barrier, you can get away with stuff like that and it will make your skin glow. But the moment you disrupt your skin barrier, it's going to cause like crazy breakouts or sensitivities.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like an ingredient that you wouldn't even think would be pore
Coconut
clogging.
too.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Coconut oil, shea butter. There's so many.
Oh my gosh. Crazy. Well, thank you so much for sharing. If you have a code, we'll have to put that in the show notes.
It's just my name. So easy to remember, Alyssa.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of coconuts, I have one last question for you. Okay. I ask all of my guests this, and it's really fun because everybody always has a really different response.
Okay.
But if you were to drink a martini, can be anything, in a bikini, where would you be and what would you be drinking?
Oh my gosh. A martini in a bikini.
Where would you be and what would you be drinking?
I would be in, let's say, I would be at the one hotel in Kauai.
Yes.
And it would be a espresso martini, but with coconut water in it.
Yum.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had one. That sounds good, though.
Wait, you should invent it.
I should.
You and Erwan.
Yeah.
That could be the new thing.
Could be the new thing.
That could be the new thing. I'm actually going to the one in Miami in a few weeks, and I'm like so hype. I just can't wait to smell it.
That's where I'm staying in Central Park too.
Oh my gosh.
It's truly
I've never
the best.
even been to that
Really?
location. I need to go check it out.
Yeah, they're the best.
They're
It's
the
so
best.
peaceful wherever you are, especially New York City, to be able to go to the one hotel. It's like your own little sanctuary amongst the chaos. It's
like
amazing.
feels like you're just like on an island.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Oh, well, you're gonna love it. Well, enjoy New York. It was so lovely having you on.
Thank
I
you
feel
so much
so
for having
honored
me.
that you even wanted to come on.
Of course.
And I just like loved everything that you shared and just how vulnerable and honest and open that you were. And I think people are really going to get a lot out of this episode. So thank you so much, Alyssa. But
Thank you. And thanks for the martini.
oh, yes, absolutely. Cheers. And then once you're done with your sup, if you want to share how people can be friends, connect, how they can stay in touch with everything you're doing. feel
Yeah,
free to
my
share.
handle on almost everything is just at Alyssa Lynch, so I'm easy to find.
Oh my gosh, easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Well, thank you so much, Alyssa. This was amazing. And you are just such a beautiful person inside and out. And
Same to you.
I am just so incredibly grateful that you came on the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you liked this episode, please feel free to like, rate, and subscribe to Martinis and Bikinis on Spotify or Apple Pod. I will love you forever, and I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.